I'm Kris Hunter, Senior Product Planner for Xbox Hardware, gamertag KDubHunter. I work at Microsoft in Xbox, and what I love about working on the team that I'm working with is that I get to work on an amazing product, but I also get to bring in a unique perspective. I like to tell people that I'm very, very popular with the 15-year-old nephews. And my other sisters don't have a chance because when I come to town, they just want to hang out with the Xbox aunt. I would say my day starts with just figuring out what product meeting I'm going to go into. Because I work on a platform on the Xbox team, that means I'm working on several projects. One day I could be talking about, okay, let's create a new controller. The next day it can be, what cable are we going to ship? So it's, the very cool projects that everyone wants to be on, and then there's the decisions you make that maybe a consumer doesn't even know, but those are the trade-offs and the decisions we make all day long. I work with the software team because, working on hardware's only as good as the software that drives it, right? So software drives those magical experiences. So I definitely work with the platform team. We have to make sure that we're informing our developers on the games, on the new features that we're going to be launching. So I work with pretty much every facet of a development of a product. And so it's a lot of just coordination with those teams and making sure that we all come together to get the right product out. Every day I work with a diverse group of people, everyone from marketing to engineering to platform planning, competitive team to make sure that we have the right product. So it's a great cross collaboration of people that I work with. In this role, you have to understand every single use case and how people will use this in the everyday, not just in a lab, not just in a test environment, but how are they going to use this in their home? I mean, every home is set up differently. So we have to be creative and figure out how we solve for all of those cases. I think a great example of a great balance between hardware and software is when we launched Kinect. Every single living room is different, and we had to, we needed to figure out play space. Where were people going to play? How many people needed to be in the living room? All of those things we needed to think about in hardware. From the lens that we picked, the tilting of the camera, making sure that we, accounted for all different heights of people in the room, even different limbs. I mean, not everyone has 4 limbs. I mean, all of those things we had to figure out. And, again, a lot of that was driven through software, just recognizing, limbs, different limbs, heights of people. But, from the hardware perspective, we needed to make sure that we were building, the right technology, the best, for example, how would this camera sit in the living room? How would it be on a TV? Would it need to be on a stand? All of those things come together. And, we had to solve for all of those things. And, we continue to solve for it. And, we continue to grow and learn from, the things that we learned from our first launch, and how are we going to build that differently the next time. I think solving for every scenario is challenging, but, it's also pretty cool. I mean, trying to just figure out, how can people play in any type of environment, anywhere around the world. One of the projects I worked on was a racing wheel that was a freestanding wheel. So most of the racing wheels that you see are attached to a table, but this was a freestanding wheel, and it was called the wireless speed wheel, and it was something that's never been done before. So the fact that you could stand up, freeform, play a racing game, and have it track you was really awesome. And why I say it's awesome is because I didn't have to pick up a controller to play it. because the technology was so new, we had to learn a lot and get up to speed on just how are we going to bring this type of a product to market without it, being a traditional controller, making sure that it was still fun for, the everyday, my 6-year-old could even play, to it also being a great product for someone that is a hardcore racer or likes to play those games. So it was a unique balance. I think it was a beautiful product when it released, and it was one of the first products I worked on that I actually saw in the wild, is what we call it. So after you launch a product and you're walking through the store, I remember walking through and seeing it at GameStop, and I looked at my daughter and I said, "Mommy did that," and she said, "You did a wheel?" And I said, "Yeah, I did a wheel." And my husband was like, "Wow, congratulations." It wasn't just me, but it was the first product that I worked on that was, fun. But again, it was the first product that I saw in the wild. So I would say that that was probably the most memorable or the best product I worked on. I think one of my most memorable moments, it actually happened during the Kinect launch. So Kinect was a huge launch for Xbox. Really, it was kind of transforming gaming beyond just the traditional, gaming that we know with a controller. This is probably one of my favorite moments working at Microsoft. So my husband and I decided to go down to the Kinect launch, which was at one of our Microsoft retail stores. And, again, we saw the Kinect in the wild. So we launched it, and it was out, and there was a huge buzz around one of our dance games. So they had the demo set up, and I remember standing in there, standing in the store, talking to the sales reps where they were talking to everyone about the product and demoing it and dancing. And this 80-year-old woman walked in, and she said, "What are they doing? What is that?" "They're dancing, and that game is tracking them." And she's like, "How do you know this?" I said, "I work at Xbox." I said, "Do you want to play?" She goes, "With you?" I said, "Yeah, let's play." So we got up, we told the sales guys, I said, "We're going to dance." And it was, I'm trying to remember the song. I think it was Poison. And, and we danced. I danced with this 80-year-old woman in the middle of a store during the Kinect launch. There was a crowd around us. People were cheering, taking pictures, and just her face, just seeing this grandmother enjoying the technology and enjoying Xbox. And that to me was just awesome. And it was one of those moments where you feel just like pride, like I worked on this, I was part of this experience, and just being able to kind of power those experiences you can't explain it. My husband also works at Microsoft. One of the things that we're passionate about is we love to travel. My daughter's had a passport since she was about this big. So, we've been able to travel and see some pretty amazing places. We actually just got back, it was last April, we went to the Dominican Republic, and we were walking through, it was a Club Med, there was a teen Club Med, and we were walking by, and all these kids were in there, and we wanted to go check out, like, what's going on? So we walked in, and there was Xbox set up. And my husband and I looked at each other, and we said, "You're kidding me." But it was so amazing to see just kids from all over the world. We had kids from, Paris and, kids from Germany, all of them in this one room, all playing Xbox. Earlier in my career, I would say it was in my 20s, I had a mentor that was, she was actually my director at the time. She actually gave me probably the best advice, and I've taken it throughout my career. She's like, be grounded, It's not just about you. You don't create a product. There's a team of people that do it. And, be humble, give credit where credit's due. And I've always taken that in my career, and I've always made sure, a lot of times in organizations when a product is launching, it's really the marketing team is launching it. And so they have the pretty slides. They have the great, banners showing what the product is. But there were really the people, the engineers that I work with on a day-to-day basis that you say, pat yourself on the back. You did that. Be proud of that, and making sure that when those product launches happen, that they're not forgotten. And so, it's always just maybe it's a bottle of champagne, maybe it's just something little, but always making sure that you give credit to the entire team. And thank you. And, thank yous go a long way, more than you think. So I think that's what I learned early in my career, is just to make sure that everyone gets praise where praise is due. So typically I'm, working in hardware engineering. I'm the only woman in the room. And, where some people might find that intimidating, or some women might find that intimidating, what I find is that we all have the same goals. We're all trying to get a product launched. We all have the same problems. We are all working late. And, it's not me that's just away from my children. They're away from their children, and it's just understanding and having that common ground, and not having the separation of I'm a woman, you're a man. We're all working towards the same thing. I think if you bring that humanness back to it, you're going to have a different relationship with someone. And, I've always done that. And I've always been really good friends with these people too. It's not just like they're colleagues, they're friends. I care about them. And I think that developing that rapport with them has always helped me in my career. With Xbox and what I do, what inspires me, you'll have days that you're making decisions on a cable, and you're like, why am I here? Why are we here for this next 5 hours to talk about a cable? All those little mundane things, all the little things that we do kind of comes together for this one moment. And the moment that we talk about a lot is Christmas morning. All those things that we've thought about in the background, Christmas morning when, that Xbox is under the tree, and, Jimmy opens it up, and just the screams and the delight. There's you can see YouTube videos just on these Christmas morning events. It's what we do. It's why we do what we do. It's why we get up every day and make those mundane decisions. It's why we, sometimes work late at night and are on calls with China. It's all of those things that come together. It's the calls from my nephews. I have 15-year-old nephews that are like, Auntie, when's the next Call of Duty coming out? All these things. It's like that excitement that drives what I do. And you don't see it. Like I've talked about, just seeing Xbox in the wild, and it makes you proud. It makes you proud of what you do. It makes you proud that you're bringing happiness to households, and there's some things that we're doing with Kinect that have brought kids with autism that have never played games before. And now, through the magic of Kinect and software and games, they're interacting for the first time. And I mean, those are the things that just make you proud and make you want to get up and do what you do every day. I'm really excited about what's coming in the next 3 to 5 years, but as a product planner, I can't tell you what's coming. And if I did, I wouldn't be sitting here right now.